Hello viewers and welcome to another edition. It's me, Aissatou Smaisisi. Today the camera this year be concerning a 2 days Gola Transboundary Technical Subcommittee meeting with the National Protected Area Authority in collaboration with Conservation Society of Salone.
Good morning once again. Thank you so very much, Mr. Bangura. Let me start by, first of all, appreciating your being here this morning. Whatever we do here today has to hinge on what started some years ago, some 14 years ago. It didn't start there, but that was really the climax. When the highest authorities of Sierra Leone and Liberia came together to see the Gola rainforest as not only a national park or a conservation area, but also a kind of peace park that will continue our history that we started some centuries ago. I am here basically to do the work of the executive director, who unavoidably is not here, and therefore Mr. Chairman and all dignitaries present. I am overwhelmed to welcome you to this meeting. The 2 days, I am sure, will have to be a very fruitful one, and I am sure in our deliberations we'll continue to think that we're not doing this for this generation alone, but generations that will have to come after all. I am also overwhelmed to welcome all of you, especially our brothers and sisters from Liberia, who made it across the boundary to be here today to deliberate on key issues that will continue to sustain our planet. Environmental issues are becoming very hot potatoes today. The reasons are very clear. We all seen what is happening. Very hot days, fire all over the world, and so many issues hinging on the environment as a result of our footprint on the environment. Therefore, whatever we do, we're not doing for only this generation, like I said, we'll be doing for this generation and generations yet unborn. So on behalf of the government of Sierra Leone, on behalf of the ministry, on behalf of my executive director, who is not here, like I said, I welcome you and I wish you a very fruitful deliberation as we deliberate on very key issues that came up in Liberia that we are not able to finally hammer home, hinging on the transboundary monitoring issues, hinging on land use planning. I am sure these 2 days will produce what we didn't finish in Liberia. And to the donors and partners who've been with us, there will be no better time to say thanks to you, because without you, it wouldn't be possible. The mega resources that our governments in Liberia and Sierra Leone have cannot push this beyond what we want. But your help and the help of your countries and donors all over the world have helped us reach here. Therefore, I welcome you, and like I said, I wish you a very fruitful deliberation. Thank you very much. I will hand over to the chairman again.
Our delegation got into the sisterly Republic of Sierra Leone, and for that we appreciate greatly. On behalf of the Managing Director of the Forestry Development Authority, I want to extend best wishes to our colleagues from Sierra Leone, the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change, the National Protected Area Authority, and all other partners here. Our people from both countries for centuries ago have had an informal park. An informal park that allowed us today to inherit what we call the greater Gola landscape in whatever state it is today. This our current park presents an opportunity for continuity, and we from Liberia see it as an important milestone in our cooperation with our sisterly republic. Back in 2009, we witnessed engagement along those landscapes. Fast forward, have seen protection on both sides of our borders. Liberia sees this as a great achievement, not for us alone, but also for our sisterly republic and for our resources we have in those areas. How we harness it is also up to us, and also up to how we collaborate with our partners. So as we have discussed in earlier technical meetings to inform cooperation on our transboundary agreement, we hope that this meeting also will help to enhance our effort, will help to identify some of the progress we have made and how we build on it, and also identify some of the challenges that we have moving forward and how we can mitigate them, and in instances how we do what we can completely. So as we discuss over the next few days, we want to state that from the Forestry Development Authority, we stand firmly with this collaboration on behalf of our government. We intend to support the efforts around the landscape and to see also how we can generate enhanced funding for activities in those landscapes. It is important that we ensure that we protect those landscapes, but protection can only be achieved if we have adequate support. There is support currently, but there is always support for new engagement. How we build up funding around our programs, how we create additional opportunities will be good for our intent for the Gola landscape. So as our partners around the table, those from PATFOR who have provided support thus far, those partners from our upcoming project, we from the FDA want to be thankful, but we also want to encourage enhanced support around this landscape. To our Sierra Leone colleagues, we want to say thank you for the welcome, and we look forward to continuous engagement. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I introduced myself already. My name is Giancarlo Monteforte. I'm here to represent the delegation of the European Union in Sierra Leone. I don't see any of my colleagues from the delegation in Liberia, so I hope I will express the opinion and the goodwill also from my colleagues there. We are here today to deliver a goodwill message around something that is of utmost importance for the environment of Sierra Leone and Liberia, which is the Greater Gola Landscape Forest Transboundary Project. We all know that West Africa is endowed with considerable natural assets, which make this region so beautiful and so unique from an environmental point of view. Some of these assets, and in particular the rainforest that we are going to discuss today and tomorrow, extend into neighboring countries. So we have the Gola forest that we are going to discuss today and tomorrow, involving both Sierra Leone and Liberia, and in the north we have the Otamba Kilimi Kuru Binselli soil landscape extending from Sierra Leone into Guinea. As you know, both landscapes are supported by the PATFOR regional program, which is an EU-supported initiative for promoting sustainable inclusive development in West Africa forest area and responding to the challenges of climate change and biodiversity loss. The PATFOR project will end in 2024 if things stand as they are, and but the EU support to the environment will not come to an end. So we are going to launch a natural program in support to the environment, which is called Nature Africa, and that will focus on key landscape for conservation and development in the whole continent, going from the forest of Western Africa through the Congo Basin all the way to the transfrontier conservation areas in Southern Africa. So it's quite a challenge. So like PAP4, Nature Africa is to tackle biodiversity loss through restoring and protecting a network of protected areas and high-value ecosystem, and at the same time promoting the sustainable management of surrounding landscapes. We are all aware that the transboundary nature of biological resources, their ecosystem and habitat species and communities call for intervention at regional level through transboundary landscapes. We are also equally aware that in Sierra Leone, like in the region, countries are largely dependent on their natural resources for their economic and ecological survival. The vast majority of the population rely on the use of land and marine resources for employment, income generation, and food production. It's therefore crucial that the natural capital, in this case of the Gola forest, is preserved in order for Sierra Leone to continue receiving the ecosystem services as clean water, clean air, a sustainable supply of food and energy, which make our life and the life of future generations possible. With the Forestry Department in the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change and the FAO, this is going to be updated a new national forest inventory. Like for a similar initiative that took place a few years ago in Liberia, just next door, the forest inventory is considered as the first step for establishing a sustainable forest management system here in Sierra Leone. So just to conclude, today and tomorrow we will be discussing some very important issues around law enforcement and joint patrolling based on the engagement of the local community in the forest edge areas. These topics are extremely important for the sustainable management of key landscape, for conservation and development of protected areas. And the challenge faced by Gola Forest are not unique. We are facing the same challenge together with the National Protected Area Authorities and our implementing agencies in the Tambaki limit. It's therefore very important that the technical and policy dialogue that is taking place today and tomorrow will be used to effectively strengthen the transboundary cooperation amongst the agencies responsible for environmental management in the region.
Not because he spoke, but because he has always been committed and very, very supportive. Interestingly, there are 2 programs on the lectern as I speak. So when
I think we cannot overemphasize the importance and significance of the Gola Transboundary landscape. Conservation Society of Sierra Leone, in its history, was actually established right from the onset of realizing the importance of conserving this very important biodiversity hotspot. So our history as an organization is sort of linked to this very important landscape. We as BirdLife partners, together with our BirdLife partner in the UK, the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds, came together several years back, let's say a couple of decades back, to work together for the protection and management of the Gola forest. Then it was a production forest. Through our efforts together, we moved it on together in collaboration with the government. We were able to move it to become a forest reserve, and then later on through EU funding, we were able to come together between the two countries to have it declared as a national park. And I must refer back to my colleague's statement about the importance of that declaration, that it did not recognize the landscape just as a biodiversity hotspot, but also as an important peace park, recognizing that these were two countries that were emerging from war. So this is a very important nexus for the two countries, looking at how biodiversity can benefit people, it can benefit communities, benefit wildlife, but also benefit the people of the two neighboring countries, which have very similar difficult history, from war to Ebola. So we are not just looking at the negative aspects of our two countries, but we exploit the opportunity of our neighborhood through this very important landscape.
Thank you very much. I will also extend our existing protocols and say our protocols observed. It is a very good thing that we can cross over again to come and discuss transboundary issues. We started this far back. As my colleague Sheku said, CSSL started ahead of SCNL in managing the Gola forest. But the Gola forest declared as a national forest was done ahead of Sierra Leone, because it was in 1954 that the Gola forest in Liberia was declared as a national forest. But by law in Liberia, it needed to go through a lot of processes until it is declared and passed through legislation to be a national park, or what the government needed it to be. This has not been an easy task. I think all of us here have formed part of that. It started in 2009 with the Across the River Transboundary Peace Park project, funded from the EU, and we all took part into that. The government of Liberia, the government of Sierra Leone, CSSL, SCNL, very like being the ones seeking the funding from the EU at the time, were all partners to this process that did enough work in the Gola landscape.
Thank you so much. Once more, I'm Haja Jamia Tukone Watson, Farmer Chief for the Protected Area, Liberia. Not much to say. I want to say a very big thank you for the partners and to the two countries. Our country, Liberia, have been supportive of the Gola rainforest. The president, according to the messages all over the places that he went to visit or speak, he always speak about the protected area. So I am sure we as citizens of the Republic of Liberia are very supportive to this cause. And we want to say again, all over, there is a common thing. People say the dry door is sweet, and you have to be eating something until the door gets dry. All over, we went to talk to our people in the rural area that the protection or the forest protecting is very important, and please don't tend to break the rule. They always go by the rule. But sometimes when we go to them, they ask of what happened to the livelihood of us, because We depend on the forest for our livelihood, but it is not forthcoming, and we're not seeing anything. And therefore, Madam Paramount Chief will break your law, but will break your rule here, but not by force. But we want to tell you those promises that were made, it should be implemented.
She's been the very first woman to stand here to make a statement this morning. We have all these engagements with all the documents, policies, and laws. If we fail to put the people at the center, the communities, and an effort in utility, the people are crucial, the local communities are crucial to what we are doing. So thank you very much. Thank you. We call next for a goodwill message for another very strong partner.
Difficult now to come after Madame the Paramount Chief, especially with my cheat sheet laptop here. But I hope I can speak as equally from the heart, even though it's written down a bit, so I don't make any errors or forget. No, that was a very passionate speech, and I've appreciated all of the inputs really so far in terms of a way to reinforce our own engagement and our own passion with such a wonderful and committed suite of partners. And speaking of partners, of course, that's a big success factor of our work in Gola and the other transboundary landscapes around the region, including another one here in Sierra Leone, between Sierra Leone and Guinea at the Tambakalini-Medina Gula landscape. So all to say that again, partnerships and many of the same partners working together for the benefit of the biodiversity and people of these landscapes. But I would like to recognize the representative of the Ministry of Environment today, as well as our colleagues from the National Protected Areas Authority of Sierra Leone, the Forest Development Authority of Liberia, the European Union, and in particular its support program for the preservation of forest ecosystems of West Africa, or PAP4, a strong collaborator and partner with us, as you all are. And of course, implementing partners for both PAP4 and WABI-led, the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds, for the grant that manages our activities on both sides of the border. And then, as we've heard from the Conservation Society of Sierra Leone, to focus on work on this side of the border, and then the Société for the Conservation of Nature in Liberia. I got a little French in there, didn't I? Société. And of course, the representatives from local partner communities and the Paramount Chiefs, in particular, Madame, who we heard from so eloquently just a moment ago. This is the second meeting of this transboundary management group for Gola, and we have made it post-COVID to be here together again. And it is the first meeting that we are convening during WABI-led, the first one being during the WABIC program, which of course WABI-led grew out from. It's most encouraging to see the governments here, NGOs, community partners on both sides of the border, still committed to working together to proactively address the conservation and livelihood issues and opportunities in this rich and biodiverse landscape. The next 2 days provide all those committed, all those in this room and beyond, because there's a lot of people committed, of course, that can't be here, to the long-term sustainability of Gola Transboundary landscape. We will have the chance to evaluate, to take a step back and evaluate, where we've come since the last meeting in terms of implementing the action plan agreed, adapt actions as needed based on lessons learned, and then also to look at possible new actions that we might want to consider undertaking based on lessons learned and emerging issues. I am happy to note that we do now have our grant in place, a follow-on grant from WABIC, through WABI-led, as I mentioned, through RSPP and through our local partners on both sides of the border. And great to see that that's starting to ramp up now to complement and contribute to the activities of PAP4, but also others working in the landscape. In terms of emerging issues too, we're happy to note there has been some progress on different things that can be now brought to deliberations, including the recently held at Monrovia, the cocoa forest coexistence meeting, which looked at ways, how do we benefit from cocoa in our sub-region, our region, but how do we do it in a way that is linked to agroforestry and generating environmental and livelihood benefits, and not just slash burn and plant cocoa, Also, there's some interesting on the enforcement side. Again, we've been working with the MRU on, from both countries, looking at how to...
Was not expecting to take the floor. I just landed yesterday night from another mission, and I saw this invitation on my table. And all my colleagues and executives that now in Conakry for another big regional meeting regarding the same issue. So I'm here to represent the situation. First of all, I would like to convey to you all warm greetings from Madam the Secretary General, Ambassador Maria J. Harrison, and the Deputy Secretary General who is in charge of this project operational level. So the Mano River Union is really recognizing the effort and the commitment of the two countries in protecting this Gola forest. Really, you have been doing well since a long time, and then the results are really coming slowly but slowly. And if it was not that effort and the commitment that have been protecting this forest, I think that Gola forest have been gone for a long time now. We would like also to thank our partners who is giving us the financial means to do our activities, and the other partners who are giving us the technical knowledge and helping us in doing what we have been since years to protect this forest. I think from the regional perspective, it's a good project. Sierra Leone and Liberia is doing well, but please, as a technician, you know more than me that protecting an area is a day-to-day work, is a day-to-day commitment. You cannot send...
The keynote address at the opening session of this today workshop. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, as you are all aware, the Upper Guinean Forest Ecoregion is one of 3 biodiversity hotspots in Africa, but has unfortunately suffered extensive deforestation. 90% of the Upper Guinean forest and several of the ecosystem services and functions it provides, such as catchments for sustainable water supply, have already been lost to human activities, including mining, logging, agriculture, and conversion to oil palm and other plantations. The Gola landscape is the largest remnant of this ecoregion and straddles the boundaries between Sierra Leone and Liberia. The importance and critical need for the conservation of this landscape in particular led to the launch about 14 years ago, that's in 2009, of the Gola Transboundary Agreement for the conservation and development of the Gola landscape by no lesser persons than the 2 heads of state, that is, of this country, Sierra Leone and Liberia. The 2 governments saw the need to work together with local forest management authorities and conservation bodies to promote a landscape, land-scale and transboundary management approach to the protection and conservation of several critically endangered or endangered species found in the unique landscape. Mr. Chairman and ladies and gentlemen, species monitoring in the Gola landscape suggests that these species are benefiting from conservation and restoration efforts, showing impact on conservation status within the parks. Camera trap surveys within the park have also found 23 medium to large-bodied mammals, including endangered and previously unrecorded species indicating high species diversity. It is also reported that this landscape is the only site in West Africa where the chimpanzee population is not decreasing at all. I think that's a kudos on our part, and as conservators, we should be happy about that. In addition to these ecological benefits, there is a net positive climate change mitigation impact of the conservation and restoration of this landscape. I think these are the facts, and as a ministry, this is one thing that the ministry will be working towards. We are currently trying to your consciences and our countries by getting the best plans during the actions and deliberations. We also hope that the action points that will be developed will be implemented adequately to save this critically endangered biodiversity ecoregion for the benefit of our populations today, in the future, and the global environment at large. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to declare this workshop open and to wish you all a fruitful celebration. I thank you all.
I want to give you this as a souvenir for your support and the institutions that are working in the landscape. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now I think
No,
Liberia really has a challenge for next year. Yeah, a real challenge for next year.
Lou and Mr. Kamara, you also have copies of your souvenirs. Thank you for your.
On behalf of the team, I'm here to present this great gift, as my colleague has said about the gift. It's something that you always love to use and you continue to use. I present this gift to you.
Yeah, so I just take it up from me to left on behalf of the Gola family. I present this to you. This is now more or less a wildlife business. So on behalf of the Gola family, the Transboundary Landscape Board Librarians I present this to you as the Deputy Director of the Africa Region of Wildlife. Thank you very much.
I want to say thank you and present this here.
Family, both here and in Liberia, want to present this souvenir to you as a token of appreciation for your tireless efforts to make the country a better place.
Thank you, sir.
I would like to return over this.
This is very important. I think it's from the Transboundary Committee. We know that
the Greater Gola Landscape and Management Team, especially when it comes to the two states, we'd like to appreciate you for your hard work and your collaboration. We also like to present it as an initial gift to continue your hard work and continue the advocacy in the communal engagement. Thank you.
We are glad that you keep making it, and I remember you did the Joel Patrol last year, and it was very successful. And we feel that as we are designing the Joel Patrol, you and your colleagues will say that you will be able to push the role of community in conservation. So this is what the management is. Thank you.
More money. It's coming. So, first of all, thank you for being here, and thank you for all the deliberations. And for this, we want to further say thank you with something you should remember. This event, you should remember these discussions we had. So, whenever you take this, it reminds you that you had a commitment here, and you need to follow that up with an action. Thank you very much.
You are part of the process, and the process wants to recognize you in this gift.
Mr. Manager and BC, we want to thank you very much for the time you took to come here, coming the long distance to embrace this occasion. And we want to remember you whenever you are out there, that you have a commitment to follow up. Mr. Thank you. James, thank you very much for your hard work.
On behalf of the organizing committee, we want to thank you for coming and for your hard work. I mean, this is a symbol of your hard work, but we also think it should be a motivation for you to do more in life. Thanks.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the Transboundary subcommittee between the two countries, I want to thank you for your participation and your hard work to support the conservation processes.
Really happy to support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For your hard work, dedication, and commitment in the Gola Transboundary, we want to
The rep is gone.